Welcome back, friend. Courage. Why is it so critical? Well, one of the reasons is, and perhaps the fundamental reason, is that courage propels other virtues into action in a given time and place when they are needed. Now, some people will argue, well, love is the chief virtue. And they may be right theologically. Let's set that aside just for a minute. I'm talking about on the great fields of battle, the epic struggles that we are facing as a nation, in our communities, in our schools where they're distributing birth control to kids, on and on. Courage is the chief virtue because, for example, if you know the truth, but you don't have the courage to say the truth in that moment where it's needed, then what good is knowing the truth? Or if you have love working in your heart, love toward your neighbor, love toward God, but you don't have the courage to display that love and act that love out, charity, when it's needed, then what good is love or charity? If you know what the merciful thing to do would be, but you don't have the courage to show mercy at that moment, then what good is the knowledge of mercy? If you know what justice demands in any given moment, then what good is the knowledge of justice if we don't have the courage to stand for justice? Courage is a propellant, an engine that drives the other virtues forward when and where they're needed. I believe, and again, I could be wrong, but for food for thought, I believe that the highest definition of courage is this, that you are willing to lay down your life in a given moment. That you are literally willing to physically die. I will tell you a small personal story, and this is for your edification, not for my aggrandizement. I give God the credit for the good things that have come from my life, and I take the blame for the bad. Many years ago, almost 30 years ago, I had gone to a Bible school and was preparing to be a full-time missionary in Latin America. I preached in Spanish, could translate for others in Spanish, and had a heart for missions. And I felt like the Lord showed me that I was to be a missionary to America and to fight against the grave evil of child killing, the shedding of innocent blood, abortion we call it. And so I began to follow that call. And I felt one day in prayer like the Lord asked me if I would be willing to lay down my life, to literally physically die, take a bullet in the fight to end child killing. I didn't say, oh, sure, Lord. It took me a couple of days of wrestling. I finally came to the conclusion, God loves me. If this is God's will for my life, to fight in this arena, then I need to do His will because I'm going to give an account on the day of judgment. And if it means that I have to lay down my life for Him, then so be it. And so I finally answered, here am I, Lord, send me. Here am I, Lord, send me. And if I need to die, I will. Well, something happened in me that I didn't expect, and clearly the Lord knew what He was after, and that is that I was freed. I was freed. I was freed from an unhealthy and an even unholy clinging to my life. Jesus said, if you want to save your life, what? Lose it. Right? He who seeks to save his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will find it. And so it really helped me to become free of the fear of man. And if I got into a spitting match politically, in the press, in front of an abortion mill, any number of situations, but I got out of there alive, man, I was still way ahead of the curve. You know what I'm saying? I'm alive. Yeah, they've sued me. Yeah, I went to jail. Yeah, I've endured these bitter false accusations, but I'm still alive. So I began to see over time that one of the reasons that people do not do and say the right thing, or the sins of omission, they fail to do and say something right, is because they have something to lose. Maybe it's a friendship. Maybe it's a job. Maybe they're just afraid of losing their reputation. Maybe they're afraid of being ridiculed or labeled as an extremist. I don't know. But the fear of having something to lose and the protecting of our lives, that causes us to fail to do and say the right things. And I learned something. I've got to take a break, and I've got to go to the other 3 C's. Man, how time flies when you're having an intense discussion. What I realized was this. The most dreadful people, the most effective people on the planet, for good or for evil, are the people who are prepared to die for what they believe. Look at the Marxists. You want to see evil? Look at the courage. Look at the Muslims, Muslim terrorists, ready to die. Look at Christian martyrs who helped end the terror of the Roman Empire. All of them willing to die. Those are the people that are the most effective on the face of the planet, for good or for evil, that they're willing to physically, literally die. I'll be right back to discuss with you some of the other C's that we are going to need to embrace if we're going to get this country back. Don't go away.